Everything around you feels real. The room you're in, the people you know, even the voice in your head narrating your every move. But here's the problem. None of it is what you think it is. Your eyes don't see truth. They see what your brain predicts. Your memories, half-constructed fiction, and that you've spent a lifetime defending, just a role your mind is rehearsing on loop. Most people live their entire lives inside a carefully edited illusion and never realize it. They trust their perception without question. They fight to protect an identity that was never theirs to begin with. And they suffer, not because life is hard, but because they're trapped in a story that isn't real. But once you start to notice the cracks, something shifts. You start to wake up. This video is not about adding new beliefs. It's about breaking the ones that blind you. You'll understand how your mind hides the truth, how your memories distort reality, and how awareness, not thought, is the only thing that's ever been real. If you've ever felt like you were living in a dream you didn't choose, this is the moment you start to wake up. Keep watching. Everything is about to look different. 1. The eyes don't see, they project. Most people assume that their eyes show them the truth, but the eyes don't really see anything on their own. They simply capture light. What happens next is what makes the illusion convincing. Your brain takes that raw data and paints a picture based on what it expects to find. So you're not seeing the world as it is, you're seeing a projection based on past experience. Perception, in this sense, isn't observation, it's storytelling. And the mind, oh, it loves to write fiction. Imagine two people staring at the same cloudy sky. One feels depressed, the other nostalgic. Same sky. But perception isn't about the clouds. It's about the lens. That lens is memory, emotion, belief. The brain fills in gaps constantly, like autocorrect in a text. Ever misread a sentence but still got the meaning? That's your brain overriding reality. What you call real might just be your mind's favorite guess. Here's something wild to try. Next time you walk through a familiar place, act like you've never been there. Question every shape, sound, and object. You'll notice things you've ignored for years. This is the beginning of awakening, not through adding knowledge, but by stripping away the filters. Awareness sharpens when the automatic habits of the mind are interrupted. Reality doesn't hide. It's just been edited by routine. But here's the strange part. If your mind can create such a vivid picture of the world based on guesses and assumptions, what happens when you turn that same mind inward toward memory? What happens when the stories of your past start to shift right in front of you? 2. Memory is a hallucination in slow motion. Memory is the one thing people hold on to like a badge of certainty. But here's the twist. Your memories aren't recordings. They're rewrites. Every time you recall a moment, your brain edits it slightly based on your current state of mind, beliefs, and even who's around you. It's less like playing back a file and more like repainting a scene with shaky hands. The scary part, you'll swear it's accurate. That's the illusion, something that feels real but bends with every blink of awareness. Think about an argument you've had. You're sure you said one thing, the other person is just as sure it was another. Who's right? Maybe neither. Studies like the Lost in the Mall experiment proved people can remember entire events that never happened. Not vaguely, but with smells, sounds, emotions. That means the past you believe shaped your identity might be part fact, part fiction. So, who exactly are you remembering when you reflect on yourself? Here's something practical. Pick a strong memory, maybe your first heartbreak or a childhood victory. Write it down in detail, then call someone else who was there and ask how they remember it. You'll likely be shocked by the differences. That's not a flaw, it's the nature of memory. Identity itself is shaped by these slippery recollections. So if your memories can shift based on context, how much of your personality is just an echo of edited impressions? And if even your most sacred memories are subject to change, then who are you without them? If perception can distort the world outside, and memory can twist the world inside, maybe your inner narrator isn't the solid foundation you think it is. Maybe it's just another character in the dream. And that voice, the one always talking, commenting, judging, it's time to take a closer look at who's really speaking. 3. The voice in your head is not you. There's a voice in your mind that never stops talking. It plans tomorrow, rewrites yesterday, judges you mid-shower, and critiques your lunch choices like it's a food critic. Most people spend their entire lives assuming that voice is them. But pause for a moment. If you can hear that voice, doesn't that mean you are something else? That's the quiet crack in identity. Awareness isn't the speaker, it's the listener behind the noise. And once you see this, the illusion begins to unravel. Try this. Sit still for 5 minutes and notice what the voice says. It might comment on the exercise, doubt its purpose, or start planning dinner. But you'll notice something strange. It contradicts itself. One moment it says you're not doing enough. The next it tells you to relax more. If that voice was truly you, would it argue with itself? This inner dialogue reveals something deeper. You're not the thought. You're the space in which the thought arises. The voice is made of old recordings. Your parents, teachers, society, pain, it's all in there, mashed together into a loop that pretends to be the real you. It wants consistency, even if it's harmful. That's why it defends your story so aggressively. But when you stop identifying with it, everything softens. You don't need to silence it. You just stop obeying it. Imagine the peace of watching your mind panic without following it into the storm. That's awareness stepping forward. And here's where it gets eerie. If the voice isn't you and the thoughts aren't chosen by you, then who's in control? If perception shapes the outside world and memory shapes the inside one, and now even your thoughts aren't really yours, what's left to cling to? Before you try to grab another belief to feel safe, consider this. Maybe the world itself isn't what it appears to be either. Maybe you've never seen the full picture. Not once. 4. Reality is edited before you experience it. You think you're seeing reality as it is, clean, raw, direct, but what you see isn't the world. It's what your brain lets you see. The moment light hits your eyes, the mind starts trimming, adjusting, deleting. It has to. There's too much data coming in. So what you perceive is a highlight reel, not the full show. And guess who's the editor? Not you. Your subconscious filters out whatever doesn't match what it already believes. That's not perception. It's controlled illusion. There's an experiment where participants watch people pass a basketball. Midway through, a person in a gorilla suit walks across the screen, waves, and leaves. Half of the viewers never see it, not because it's hidden, because their mind deleted it. The brain said, this isn't relevant, and tossed. If something that obvious can be erased in real time, how many unseen gorillas walk through your life every day? What else is being filtered before it ever reaches your awareness? This is why you miss signs, ignore gut feelings, and repeat the same emotional loops. Your mind filters truth through old scripts. Ever met someone new and instantly disliked them for no reason? That wasn't insight. It was a memory wearing a new face. Awareness doesn't get a clean look at life. It gets the edited version. The question isn't what's out there, it's what are you being kept from seeing? And if your brain is deciding what reality looks like before you're even aware of it, then how can you trust anything you see? If perception is already filtered and modified before it reaches you, then your sense of self, your beliefs, preferences, and reactions might also be carefully curated illusion. But here's a deeper crack to explore. What if the very idea of you was never solid to begin with? What if the self is just another layer of that same illusion? 5. The self is a story the mind tells to stay in control. From the moment you were born, the world started giving you a script. Your name, your language, your beliefs, all handed to you like a costume to wear. You didn't choose it, but over time, it felt familiar. So you called it me. That's the strange trick of identity. It feels like it came from within, but it's mostly a collection of outside influences, a mix of rewards, punishments, and repetition. And the mind? It clings to it because uncertainty scares it more than illusion ever could. Think about it. If you had been raised in a remote village in Tibet, would you still have the same political opinions? The same sense of humor? Probably not. So what does that say about who you think you are now? Identity isn't fixed, it's conditional, built on culture, emotion, and convenience, but the brain prefers certainty, so it grabs onto the story and says, "This is me." It's not trying to lie, it just wants to feel safe. That's why new perspectives feel threatening. They don't match the character you've been playing. Try this exercise. Write down 5 things you believe make you who you are. Now ask, would I believe this if I had grown up in a completely different environment? Most people find that at least 3 of those things would vanish or shift. That's not failure, that's freedom. If your sense of self can change that easily, maybe it's not the core of who you are. Maybe the real you isn't the one in the costume, but the awareness that's been watching you play the role all along. And yet, even as you read this, the mind might resist. It'll say, well, some part of me must be real. That's the ego holding the door shut. It's afraid of what might come in if the story falls apart. But what if there's something underneath that's more stable than any identity? What if you've never truly been the one making the choices in the first place? What if even free will is part of the script? 6. Free will is just a story the ego believes. Most people believe they're steering the ship, that every choice is theirs, every action born from conscious intention. But here's the unsettling truth. Science shows your brain makes decisions before you're aware of them. That means the thought, "I'll do this," comes after the action has already been set in motion. You're not choosing. You're observing. And the ego. It jumps in to narrate after the fact, claiming credit like a politician at a ribbon cutting. That's not control. That's illusion dressed as logic. Picture this. You reach for coffee instead of tea. Seems simple, right? But maybe it wasn't about preference at all. Maybe your choice was influenced by an ad you saw yesterday, a scent in the room, a subconscious craving triggered by sleep deprivation. You didn't decide, you reacted. Then the mind made up a reason to justify it. This isn't theory, it's measurable. Researchers can see brain activity building up decisions before you feel the urge to act. Perception is shaped long before you believe you're the one acting on it. Want to test it? Try predicting your next thought. Really, sit down and wait for it. You can't. It just shows up, uninvited. And then the voice says, "I thought that." But that's not awareness. That's a delayed narrator trying to stay relevant. It's like watching a sports commentator calling the plays after the game's already been played. The more you observe your own thoughts, the more you'll notice how little you actually create. You're not in charge, you're in attendance. So now the question shifts. If you're not the one choosing your thoughts, not the one directing the show, then what is this you that claims ownership over everything? Is it even real? Or just the mind clinging to something familiar? Before you panic, take a breath, because this isn't the end of understanding. It's the beginning of something deeper, something that's always been watching, quietly untouched by the chaos, something that doesn't need control, because it is the source. 7. Awareness is the only thing that's real. Strip everything away, your name, your memories, your beliefs, and something still remains. It doesn't speak, it doesn't judge, it doesn't need a reason to exist. It's just there, watching. That's awareness. It's not a thought, not a feeling, not an opinion. It's the silent observer that's been present since before you had words. The one that's been watching your life unfold like a movie. You may have mistaken the characters for yourself, but the screen never moved. Ever noticed how you were there at every moment of your life, not as a personality, but as the witnessing presence, when you were 5 and didn't know what fear meant, when you felt heartbreak for the first time, when you sat in silence and felt peace without knowing why. That's not coincidence. That's the real you. Not the mask, not the thoughts, just awareness. It doesn't react, it doesn't age, it just knows. And that knowing doesn't need to explain itself. You can tap into it right now. Just stop for a second and observe your thoughts like clouds passing through the sky. Don't engage, don't analyze, just watch. That quiet space that opens up, that's you. Not the one thinking, but the one seeing. Try it when you're overwhelmed, when the noise is loud. Feel how it all happens inside something still and vast. The more you rest there, the less you need to fix the mind. The illusion loses its grip. Awareness doesn't fight, it watches the battle without bleeding. And now the final question whispers in. If thoughts come and go, if memories bend, if the self is a mask and control is an illusion, what's left? What's real when everything else dissolves? You've been chasing identity in the mirror, in achievements in the past, but maybe the truth isn't something you can find. Maybe it's what's been looking all along.